Hello out there, all you home care owners, operators, enthusiasts. This is Lucas Carroll with the business of senior care, where we help home care companies get their state license fast and with excellence. Today, we're talking about one of the larger states in the union and what the licensure process looks like. This is the state of Texas. This is the step-by-step overview of what it's going to take to get your home care license in the state of Texas. Let's take a look. Starting along the left-hand side here, there are 5 basic components or major components of obtaining your personal assistance services license in Texas. And we'll go through each one and some of the specifics for each one. All the way on the left-hand side is picking your correct license type. So there are a few different types of licenses to choose from. They're all administered by the Department of Health and Human Services Commission. So HHSC does the licensing, and inside of that you can get a license for home health with home dialysis, which can be either of those can be licensed and certified, or a hospice agency. Or you can, if you're looking to provide just non-medical care, which is companionship and homemaker and also personal care services, then this is the correct department, and the type of license is a PAS agency, where you then become a home and community support services agency in that department. So number 1, you've picked the correct license. This license is a PAS license that you are trying to pursue. Moving over to number 2 is your governing body and selecting those members. So for a PAS agency, there are just 2 people that are required in order for you to submit your application. That's the administrator and the alternate administrator. The administrator, of course, oversees all operations for the agency, and then your alternate administrator is an individual who can step in your absence. They can be somebody that's just on paper, meaning that they could be potentially working for another agency that you're friends with that can step in your absence. Doesn't have to be somebody who's required to work day to day in the operations, but somebody when you're gone that knows the operations enough to be able to step in your absence. And there are some requirements around the administrator and the alternate. So to be an administrator, you can be a physician, you can be a registered nurse, you can be a licensed social worker, a therapist, a nursing home administrator, any of those, along with 1 year management in a health-related setting. Or if you don't have those, a high school diploma with 2 years management in a health setting, or a high school diploma with 1 year experience caring for persons with functional disabilities, or last, somebody with 2 years of college, full-time in college in a healthcare field. So any of those will get you qualified as the administrator and or the alternate. And of course, you have to be able to pass a background check in the state in order to put your name on the application. And last, we talk about the RN. There is an RN delegation program in the state of Texas that you're not required to participate in order to get your PAS license. But if you want to, down the road, you do need an RN, of course, to have RN delegation set up. And then you can do some more intensive types of personal care and hands-on care services for your clients. But it's not required initially if you don't have that person or you don't want to put together your specific policies or program for RN delegation. Okay, moving over to number 3 is your application. So Texas has its own specific online portal in which to submit your application. It's called Tulip. You have to go on and set up your account on Tulip in order to submit an application. You need to make some decisions, like, are you going to start your home care agency out of your home or in a commercial business space? You can start it out of your home. Inside of your home, you just need your own private office. And then you do need a separate space for your caregivers to do training and hiring and things like that, separate from your private office. So it is possible to do it out of your home. Next, you need to do your business entity formation. So going out to the Secretary of State, you need to form an LLC or an S Corp or a C Corp or some form of business entity that's recognized by the state that you can register and have your name. And once you do that, you need to, separate from your business entity name, you need to pick your home care name. So you have the name of your company, your address that you're doing business, the phone number, and the website. You can use your personal cell phone number if you want to start your agency, or there's some pretty inexpensive alternatives in order to get a business line if you would like. Next, you do need to go on to the HHSC site and complete 3 modules for computer-based training. This training just covers the online portal and process through the health department to make sure you are able to receive notices and respond in the portal and just operate your home care agency within the state. Also, you need to find an approved provider for an 8-hour administrator course where that goes over the main regulations and operations of a home care agency. Our company, the Business of Senior Care, is an approved provider for the 8-hour course, and you need to have a completion certificate for 2 people, for the administrator and for the alternate. So both of them need to complete that 8-hour course and needs to be a part of your application. So we talked about creating an account on Tulip. Next, when you have all the information for your application filled out, then you're going to submit that application through the Tulip system, which is then going to start to be reviewed by HHSC, where they have a 45-day deadline to complete their review and then respond to you. And they do require 2 policies for you to submit with your application. You have to have your organizational chart or organizational structure written out or in visual format for them to review. And then you need a policy that describes if you have agency dissolution. So if you're go out of business and you need to do something with your clients, you need to make sure that they're cared for. This transfer process just needs to be spelled out in a policy and what you would do in the event that your business closed, who you would contact, and how that process would work for transferring clients. And your license, when you submit your application, the payment is the $2,625, and it's good for 3 years. So the next time you have to go through the licensure recertification process is 3 years from then, when it's time to renew. All right, moving on to step number 4. You need to write specific policies and procedures for your agency. So there are specific regulations, primarily Chapter 558, which outline the regulations that need to be followed for a home care agency. So it does provide specific regulations on your quality assurance program and client records and employee records and how you admit a client, how you discharge a client, your emergency preparedness on what happens for a natural disaster. So those regulations need to be incorporated into your policies and making sure that you have every single one of them covered, along with some of the federal regulations. So things like the state ones, Texas Health and Safety Code, Texas Human Resources Code, the Americans with Disabilities Act, Civil Rights Act, FMLA, and OSHA. Those federal programs and laws need to be incorporated into your agency as well. And then based on Chapter 558, primarily the major programs that need to be addressed in your policies include your governing body and your administrator, client policies, your client complaint program, employee-related policies, policies and reporting for abuse and neglect, your quality assurance program, infection control, and your emergency preparedness. So each of these major components need to be addressed in your policies, and they need to address all of the regulations, primarily in Chapter 558, but in also other Texas administrative codes and other codes and federal laws. Number 5 is your on-site survey. So Texas doesn't require an on-site survey in order to get your initial license, but once you receive your initial license, then you have to be able to provide care to a client and provide services. And then once you've done that, and if you're applying just for a PAS license, you just need to provide care to one client, but you have to go back and submit a written request to the department for them to come out and do your on-site survey after you've completed care and services for at least one client. There's a specific form 220 that needs to be completed in order when you submit your request. Then the health department comes out to do your on-site survey, and they're looking at your full set of policies and procedures like we talked about. They're also looking at your client records. You're looking at personnel records, and then just an overall review of your agency to make sure that you're in compliance. After that successful completion, and as long as it's within 6 months of being issued your initial license, then you have completed the full licensure process and you have your license. And you're always subject to unannounced surveys from the health department, but only formally have to go through a 3-year certification process. So that's the overview of the 5 major components for the state of Texas and what it takes to get your PAS license. If you're looking for more specifics or want to have a conversation for your agency or your specific situation, don't hesitate to reach out. Have a great day.